Hey guys, BuildZoid here, and this is a very random video on a very random stick of memory. So we have one stick of RAM in the system over here, as you can clearly see. It's also a green PCB. It has no heatsink, so this should kind of tell you that yes, this is a very random stick of memory. It's about as generic as it gets. And so basically I had this idea that, well, somebody suggested to me that as part of like testing motherboards, I should validate how closely they, like when you set the memory voltage, how accurate that is. Because I know in the past there's been some motherboards which will they'll overvolt your memory, but more and more the higher voltage you set. So if you set like 1.2 volts, then you get 1.2 volts, but you set 1.5 and you'd get like 1.52. And then if you set 2 volts, you'd get like 2.05. Right, so basically it would give you extra voltage, more voltage than you expected, and that made the board look better than other boards because like 2 volts, if you punched in 2 volts in the BIOS on that board, and then 2 volts on another board, then, it would look like it's better at memory overclocking when actually it's just shoving a bunch of extra voltage into the memory. Anyway, so the thing is I picked up this really generic kit of memory. So as you can clearly see here from the SPD, we have a Samsung. Samsung's the manufacturer. It's rated for DDR4 2133, CL, 15 or 16, right? So we have JEDEC 6 and 7 here. So yeah, 15, 15, 15, 36, 50 timing. So pretty much, like, this is as generic as it gets for DDR4. But here I have it 2350 megahertz. Now, admittedly, it's not even remotely stable. So if we run memtest, then, I don't even need to punch in a lot of RAM. And give it a second. Come on, it was spewing out errors before. Why isn't it doing it now? Okay, we'll grab some extra instances just in case it's being. Maybe we're not putting enough stress on the memory stick yet. Start. No? You're not going to error anymore? I tried to run it before and it was spewing out errors left and right. Like I had four errors on like 1% of coverage. Oh, there we go. So, yeah, as you can clearly see, it's not very stable, but still this is ridiculous. Like, and this is only at 1.5 volts. Like, I'm not even shoving a stupid amount of voltage into it. We are on the MSI Z390i Gaming Edge AC motherboard just because I have this motherboard set up for testing right now with the 9900K, and the 9900K's memory controller is much more capable than the 8086K's. But anyway, so, 4700 megahertz overclock on a 2133 megahertz rated memory stick. And yeah, I figured just like, whoa, like, holy crap. I figured I'd show you. Now it is only single channel, so I still want to check how much memory bandwidth we have. Nope. We're just gonna ignore that. I'm eventually gonna delete the the file and just replace it. Hell, by then I might be using a new operating system because this one's getting kind of messed up. There's just piles of crap all over it at this point. Anyway, let's see. Like, IDA's not very heavy, so I'm hoping this will finish. And we should be getting about like, so on like dual channel, it's pretty easy to hit something like 70 gigabytes per second. 60 to 70 gigabytes per second is pretty easy to hit if you can do a very high memory clock speed, and it's actually not bad. Like 37 gigabytes per second, that's not bad. Like if we had 2 of these, that should put us into that sort of 60 gigabytes per second range. It doesn't scale, like it doesn't literally double our bandwidth. It doesn't scale quite that well, but and 35, yeah, so damn, I really wish I picked up 2 of these. Like this stick was 25 quid. And I really wish I had a second one, because then we would actually get like comparable results to some other memory kits I have, because I don't normally test single channel at all, because it's just so bad compared to dual channel that it's not like, it's not even funny how bad single channel is. But still, it's just like 2133 megahertz rated memory stick, and holy crap, it's doing, 4700 megahertz instead. At this point, I wanna try also see if like how it'll clock at higher voltages and try go for some performance settings instead of just like this, because this is quite frankly a disgusting mess as far as I'm concerned. So okay, 40 nanoseconds. I mean, let's just see how low we can push the timings at this point, eh? Let's just restart. So this kind of works out. Like, this is one thing I have wanted to kind of do, is just do like a memory overclocking process video. The thing is I'm overly excitable. So if I get a new memory kit and there's a motherboard next to me that doesn't suck at memory overclocking, the first thing I'll do is I'll stick the memory kit in it and start testing. And then like halfway through testing, I get the idea, you know what, maybe I should have recorded the process. And I'm like, yeah, that would have been a good idea. Next time we buy a new memory kit, we should do that, shouldn't we, Build Zoid? And then next time I buy a memory kit, we repeat the situation of, ooh, new memory, let's see how it clocks, and forget about making the video. So here I've caught myself pretty early, though admittedly the frequency is really, really high. So the way I actually went about doing this is, because this is EDI, so I basically just went with a relatively generic set of memory timings to start out with. So I started with like 19, 25, 25, 45. And that's because basically I have a XMP 4000 megahertz, 19, 25, 25, 45 memory kit from Gale that's based in EDI. So essentially I was like, well, that's a decent bin of EDI, so we'll just whack those timings on this and see what it does with those timings. And I'm like, well, it's doing 4000. Now it's doing 4266. And eventually, so the thing with EDI is you actually need to, like, your TRCD and TRP are the ones that usually start complaining about frequency. So there's like, they do scale with voltage, but not very much. So essentially you end up with really high TRCD and really high TRP, and then you can potentially get pretty low TCL. Yeah, so, you know, worked it up. And I'm actually going to back off the frequency a bit just because I want to do a sort of normal comparison of something that I would expect EDI to do. So, like, a good EDI kit should do something like, say, that at 4000 megahertz with around 2 volts. And I'm actually going to set all of my timings to something not completely trash. So 3, 9, 4, 4, 11, just because that one sometimes screws me over. And we're going to stay loose on the TCWL because that one seems to be a bit picky with this motherboard. So 4000, cool. Yeah, I'm running a ton of voltage. So the 1.45 volts is pretty much a requirement with this kit to get into Windows at 4700 megahertz. It might also be a memory controller thing, but well, actually, I think it's a memory controller thing, but anyway, we're going to drop this down now that we're at 3000. We're going for 4000 megahertz, and we're going to start at like 1.9 volts and see if we can run this. Like, considering how high frequency this goes, I would be surprised if this doesn't work. Okay, no, it's not going to work. You can see the LED blink on there. If it blinks 3 times, then it basically means it failed. So, yeah, okay. So now it'll give us a overclocking failed message. Yeah, so now we're in the BIOS settings. Let's back it off a bit. 3860. Let's back it off more. It's probably those. Let's go like that. Because again, like that's usually where EDI has the, like, that's where normally you get the wall with EDI. We're still gonna try 3600. Also, this motherboard has is a bit of a mess when it comes to memory training. So if you like fail to train some hard settings, you normally have to kind of go back to like 3600 and kind of start over. Okay, so that looks like we were successful. Nope. Okay, well, that sucks. I have a sneaking suspicion that... No, 1424 is not that tight. That should not be causing issues, but... weird PCB... Like, the thing is, this is also not like this is not like an A PCB. So for single rank memory DIMMs, you normally have like an A style layout. So you'll have like an A0, A1, A2. And then for dual rank kits, you'll have, you know, B1, well, B0, B1, B2. And then for ECC, I think for ECC memory kits that aren't registered, there's the D revision, well, the D layout PCBs. And this is actually a ECC PCB. So basically there's memory, like there's spots for 7 memory chips, because one of the extra chips is used for ECC, and that one's missing. And I'm not sure how bad that is for actual memory overclocking capability. I would assume it's a pretty bad idea, because you don't see like G.Skill producing a bunch of memory kits rated at very high frequency, you know, built on the ECC PCBs. So anyway, let's just try these settings and see what happens. Oh, see, now it worked. Okay, so it was just WTRS and yeah. Okay, so I'll stick to 11 on those in the future. There. We're just gonna skip to 3866. Normally I go like 3600, 3733, 3866. You don't need to go through every step, especially because some of the multipliers don't actually work. So 3866 14 works. Admittedly, like, we're on a ton of voltage here, so this is not like, this doesn't mean anything right now. A good kit would be like 12, 20, 20 at like around 2 volts for 4000 megahertz. Don't blink. Okay, so that's no good. I wonder what's like, well, assume we're gonna get an F1 message, aren't we? Yeah, we are. I really wish this board had a postcode. Would make it a lot easier than trying to guess what it's doing based on if the LED's blinking a lot or a little, but... Okay. I assume there's a TRCD TRP wall just because that would be pretty normal for an E-die kit. So we're going to try that first. This motherboard really, like, recovers really well, so I'm not too... well, recovers really well. It sometimes needs to retrain, but... like, it recovers from bad settings well in that you don't have to wipe the BIOS because it'll kick you back in. Well, it does 1925, so I guess it just doesn't scale with voltage? We shall see. Maybe it's, again, some subtiming that's screwing it over, but, like, 1925 worked. So we're going to try that first, see if, you know, maybe it's subtimings and... It might be subtimings, because I am just, like, using what I normally use for B-die. So I'm not sure how... I don't, like, as much as I have an E-die kit, I just don't use it very much, so it's not like I have the timings memorized. Yeah, it doesn't like that. That's going to be another F1. Or it might need a retrain. That's the annoying thing, is just like sometimes this board needs to go to 3600 and then to the higher multiplier. So, okay, I have a rough idea of what's probably causing the issue, so we're just going to go to that and that. That should, at this point, post. Yeah, see? No, it does. Or at least it should. Damn. So that almost succeeded. Or, yeah, almost. Okay, you know what? I'm just gonna let the board figure out those on its own, because it probably it's done a better job of setting them for like just booting better than me. So let the board deal with those. See if we can do that. There's a reason you don't normally change like a whole bunch of settings at the same time. Oh, that's bad. Okay, I guess we're going all the way back to auto subtimings because I've evidently screwed something up. Wonder if it's TWR. We're just auto all of them. Can try fix them afterwards. Okay, no, it looks like this actually doesn't scale with voltage. Much. Like, that's my current working theory for this memory kit. Or I need to retrain. One of the two. So we're going to go back to 3600 and then go back up to 4000 because that's just some like, the board sometimes needs that. So that it figures out what to run at 3600 and then we can go up to 4000 because if it knows what to run at 3600, well, it can just use those settings and build up from them. Yeah, so that works, as expected. And now we go to 4K. And that should still work. I did 4017.22, I think, previously. So, and that was with less voltage than this. I guess it really doesn't scale. That's actually really annoying. Okay, so now I won't at least now I won't feel bad about what I'm gonna be doing to the memory stick, because it's really not that good. How much memory voltage? Yeah, we're on 1.9 volts. Like, what the hell is it doing? Okay, let's try 17. That's really like. I guess that could be just because it's on the ECC PCB. The timings are kind of screwed up, potentially. No red LED and no post. I'm starting to think it actually doesn't like all of the voltage. Which is annoying, because I really wanted this kit to just work with stupid amount. Well, I mean, actually, I don't really care about it not working at high frequency at high voltage. As long as I can boot with high voltage and measure it, then it's good. That's all I really need, but... yeah, still an F1. Okay, well, I guess... gonna have to slow down a bit. Let's try that. Go back up to safe settings. I'm gonna try that, and that might be a little bit... Like, the thing is, I've never worked with a memory kit that's on the ECC PCB, and I'm not sure, like, what differences it makes, so... Maybe just smashing timings into this that are for, like, A1 or A2 PCBs is not the best idea. Okay, so 1925-25 still works. Cool. That works fine. So, does 1725-25 work? And indeed it does. At 1.7 volts. But apparently not if we use 1.9. Which is interesting. That's not typical of E-die, because E-die is supposed to have, like, a ridiculous voltage tolerance. Like, more so than, like, B-die even, so... Well, I mean, there are some recent B-die kits that go up to stupid voltages, but... E-die was, like, like, a lot of people would run, like, 2.1 volts into E-die regularly. Which, with B-die, you normally stick to slight, like, you know, around 2 volts instead of 2.1. Not that that's a huge difference. Okay, so now 1.9 volts works. I guess the board just didn't know what to do? Or my TRFC was too tight. Oh, looks like the TRFC was too tight. That's really odd, though. Because my other E-die kit does, like, 220 or something? Or 280? At 4,000 megahertz? Pretty much across the, like, pretty much from 1.5 volts up. Okay, so I guess... Well, okay, no. that's being very optimistic right there. But maybe something like that could work. If this did 12 at 1.9 volts, then it would be pretty overpowered compared to my other E-die kit, because that one needs like 2 volts or 2.05, something like that. It needs a lot. Still, like, for such a cheap, like, random stick of memory, right? That's so cheap. It's rated at 2133, 15, and it's doing this, and like, I'm really impressed. So we're gonna try 13 at 2. Damn. Like, so aside from the fact that the TRFC is disgusting right now, this is pretty good. 12? I'm not optimistic about that working, but we shall see. I'm just gonna give it a nudge, like a helpful push. And you may notice that there's no heat spreader on this memory stick, and no cooling, and really, well, other than the airflow from the fan. And that fan is doing 3,000 RPM, so it's not like there's a shortage of airflow in the area. So 4000 CL12 works. Gee, oh my god. Random freaking memory, like, it doesn't get more random than this. Like, seriously, it's just like, this is the most generic memory stick I could have ever picked up. As far as I'm concerned, for E-die. It's so generic that it uses like a bulk-produced server PCB. Okay, now we'll do the can it still get into Windows test. Hot damn it can. That's not fair. I have like a... Oh, no, it can't. Okay, it's not better than my other E-die kit. I would have been pretty annoyed if this random green disgusting ECC stick was better than my previous E-die kit. Because that one, like, because that one comes in a nice white PCB, and this one was supposed to be a sacrificial stick of RAM. So, I mean, it's a pretty good sacrificial stick of RAM, but not good enough to get out of getting sacrificed. 28. Let's see if that works. I'm hoping it's a TRCD wall and not a TCL. Oh, okay, it is. Yeah, so this is kind of like really, really good. E-die would do less than like 20 TRCD at this kind of voltage, and bad E-die would do this, pretty much. So, yeah. It's very... Though I'm not sure, like, bottom of the barrel B-die is really, really bad. I'm not sure how, like, E-die might be more consistent, just because it's like on an older manufacturing process. We are gonna ignore that. Go away, leave me alone. I don't use it that much anyway. It won't have a lot of read bandwidth, but actually we should only test latency. And actually the subtimings are crap, so that won't work out very well, but still. Yeah, so of course the bandwidth is down because the memory frequency is way down. And our subtimings are garbage. Well, we'll see. This board's actually pretty decent about not using completely stupid subtimings. But like some of the Gigabyte boards just give you absolute, like the subtimings are just disgusting. And this is like, that could be lower probably. I'm not sure. We all know how much success I had with this posting earlier. That can probably do 4, that can probably do 4. That should do 16. That should do not, like it could do 9. Probably will do like 11. We're going to leave that alone, and we're going to leave that alone as well. Just because, yeah, the board seems to know what to do with those better than I do. Then this might be able to do 65,000, but yeah, that's not bad. It's actually not bad at all. Like, considering how, like, it's a generic, you know, freaking green PCB 2133 megahertz rated memory kit, and you can overclock it by more than 100%. Now, at that point, admittedly, it's not very stable, but still, like, actually, let's see if I can get it even slightly, you know, like 10% mem test stable for, just for the hell of it. So we'll let the board do the auto timings, because those are normally set for optimal stability, or like they're pretty generous. I do want to run 19. I'm going to back off to 1.5 volts, which is kind of the upper limit of what's safe. And to make this a nice, clean 100% memory overclock, right, because it's rated at 2133, we're going with 4266. And we're going to see if it can pass a couple percent of memtest without spewing out a bunch of errors. Now, the thing with memtest, to actually properly, like, load the memory system, you should run a whole bunch of instances at the same time. So yeah, actually, I have a really high uncore clock right now, so that might not be optimal for mem testing, but anyway, we're going to copy that. And I do want to keep that 28 gig one over there. Rename, test, 2.5, because this is a 4 gig stick. So we don't really have a lot of space. And we want 8 threads. Actually, no, this is a 16 thread CPU. So screw it, I'm not doing that many bloody threads. I'm doing 10. And we're just going to do 250. Like that. That'll give us 2.5 gigs. We'll see how quickly it starts spewing errors across them. Could I do this any slower? Probably. There. Okay. That's 10 of them, right? Yeah, that's 5 and 5. 2.5 gigs. And then we do Windows. Now we do Windows tab. And bam! We can see all of them. These are actually going pretty quickly, aren't they? Or did it just lock up? No, it is going pretty quickly. 100% overclock. And it's not, you know, puking out errors everywhere. Like, I'm honestly really impressed with this. Honestly, like, this would be great for, like, an APU. Like, it won't do this frequency on an APU from AMD. The memory controller can't do that, but like it's cheap as hell, right? It's 4 gigs. So if you buy 2 sticks, you get 8 gigs, you get your dual channel. It'll clock it should hit up to 30. Like, if your memory controller is capable and your board as well, then it could probably do up to 3600. So yeah, like for an APU, this would be a perfect fit for cheap memory. It still hasn't spat out any errors. Like, this might actually be stable. Admittedly, we're not like testing all of the RAM. We're just kind of testing most of it. We could fit another 2 instances in. Actually 3, right? No, 2. Yeah, we could fit 2 more instances in there, but yeah, still no errors. I'm seriously impressed. Well, like, this is an actual 100% memory overclock on like the most generic kit of E-die you could ever imagine. It's not even that bad for raw frequency. So, okay, I don't think anybody wants to watch memtest run because that would be very boring. I'm not going to bother optimizing the timings because, quite frankly, like, they're not that far off from optimal with this board, right? If we go to timing configurator, yeah, like, it's not doing like, that's not even disgustingly high. I mean, that's really low, but anyway, I mean, it's pretty high, but it's not super, super high. The thing is, 4 gig sticks actually get a small advantage in some timings because the JEDEC standard for a lot of their timings is lower than for the higher density memory sticks. So, yeah. I mean, the TRRDs are awful, and TFAW is awful, and TCWL is a mess. This should normally be lower than your TCL. So I don't know what's going on with that. But, or at least normally it should work at like 1 or 2, maybe even 3 ticks lower than your cast latency. So, yeah. Anyway, let's shut this down. And let's take a closer look at this super generic memory stick. And now I'm going to have to go into studio mode. Yeah, that's going to work. Bam! So, our super generic memory stick. Come here. Up. And that's it. Like, it literally does not get more generic than this. And here you can see the ECC memory chip that's missing. I mean, well, you can't see it because it's not there, but you can see where the ECC chip would be, like the ECC memory chip would be if it was there. So, yeah. This right here does 4700 megahertz for CPU Z validations and can probably run 4266 stable, which is kind of ridiculous. What's the part, like, what's the actual wait, it's a M378. Well, whatever. Like, if I figure out what the part number is, then I'll put it in like the description or something. So, yeah, that's it for the video. So also, I'll actually tell you why I even bothered to get a memory stick like this, because it wasn't to find out that it overclocks really well and then feel bad about abusing it. So, oh wait, I actually mentioned it, right? Like, I'm going to be attaching voltage probe points, well, basically just some wires, and then end them probably in like some screw terminals to basically get a really convenient way of just like I stick this memory stick into the motherboard, I set a voltage, probe the I probe the voltage, right, without having to mess around with like stabbing the output capacitors or something. Because like if you look at these ITX boards, right, like where do you measure where do you measure your dim voltage, right? Like there's just no space to do that easily. So yeah, this memory stick is gonna get some wires attached to it, but still, that is really impressive. And quite frankly, if you're looking for like cheap daily RAM, this could be well, the only issue is like if you wanted more than 8 gigs of RAM, then this is actually kind of problematic. EDI is, because you'd have to buy 4 sticks of this. And at that point, well, at that point you're dual rank, and that does give you like that does kind of offset the disgusting timings this stuff runs. Like the TRCD and TRP just never it never gets good. So having multiple ranks of this does kind of offset that, but it also puts way more strain on the memory controller. And for example, with my 8086K, dual rank B die doesn't go above 3733 megahertz. Like that's just where it stops. With the 9900K, that's not really a problem. Then again, I don't know that somebody who's buying a 9900K is exactly strapped for cash and wants to save it by buying really cheap generic, DDR4. Because the other issue is, like, I don't know if this stick might not be, like, top 1%. Right? Like, that's the other potential issue here is, like, this may just be a very, very lucky memory stick. And most of the other ones just kind of suck. But still, like, I'm really, really surprised that this did so well. And yeah, anyway, thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe, leave any comments, questions, suggestions down in the comments section below if you'd like to support what I do here with actually hardcore overclocking. I have a Patreon, I have a Patreon, there's Teespring, there's merch on there. They recently added some new shirts, well, one new shirt in a bunch of different colors, and added some posters. So if you'd like to check those out, there's going to be links to both the Patreon and Teespring down below. And, those help out immensely with funding things like random generic EDI memory sticks. So, yeah, that's it for the video. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.